What these banks are doing to people is violating federal law, but they're doing it because they don't think you know about it. But I'm about to tell you all about it. Stay tuned because it's some straight fraud going on up in here. What's up, fam? Sorry for the late video, but I told you, turn your notifications on because sometimes I post more than one video a day. So what these banks are doing, some of these banks are trying to do right now, may be against the law, unfair acts or practices. What's going on with these closed banks that closed accounts and then secretly reopening consumers' accounts? What does this mean for everybody? CFPB warns banks of risk in unilaterally reopening closed accounts. Such actions may violate the agency's prohibition on unfair acts or practices. The CFPB said this on Wednesday. The CFPB, which stands for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, warned banks on Wednesday that reopening a bank account unilaterally after a consumer has closed it might violate federal laws. So y'all, federal laws are being broken by these banks. The CFPB received complaints from consumers saying their bank reopened their accounts even after they completed all the steps required to close them. The banks also charge overdraft and non-sufficient fund fees. The Bureau noted this on Wednesday. Banks might risk violating the CFPB's prohibition of unfair acts and practices. The same Bureau pointed out that in 2019, CFPB ordered USAA to pay more than $15 million in consumer remediation and penalties for violating the Consumer Financial Protection Act. The bank failed to honor consumers' stop payment requests in pre-authorized electronic fund transfers and also reopened deposit accounts that were previously closed without seeking prior approval or giving proper notice. Bank account closures might require a consumer to provide a certain period of advance notice prior to closing the account to allow for the financial institution to process any pending debts or deposits. It also goes on to state that charging fees when the bank reopens a closed account might also give third parties access to a consumer's fund without permission. Reopening an account can also overdraw the account, which might send a wrong signal to the credit reporting companies if the consumer does not settle the negative balance promptly. But if you don't know about it, how can you do it? So consumers often cannot reasonably avoid the risk of substantial injury caused by this practice because they cannot control a third party's attempt to debit or deposit money. The process and timing of account closure or the terms of deposit account agreements. Let's remember, we are down 4 banks. In 1 week, 3 banks played an important role in the collapse of the economy. 2 were closed by U.S. regulators, becoming the second and third biggest bank failures in history after Washington Mutual in 2008. These are Silicon Valley Bank. Don't forget about these now, which regulators closed on March 10th, and Signature Bank, New York, which suffered the same fate just 2 days later on March 12th. And then we also have First Republic Bank, the latest bank, and Silvergate as well. So apart from the fact that they were all medium-sized banks, the common point among the 3 is that they were not diversified. And above all, they made bets that went seriously wrong. Silvergate bet everything on the emergence and success of the cryptocurrency industry. When a liquidity crunch hit the industry last May, followed a month later by the sudden crash of the cryptocurrency exchange, FTX, Silvergate found itself in trouble. and they could not survive being hit with both of those whammies. So SVB's assets made sense at the time, but when the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, the existing loans became less valuable. And what the government effectively did by raising interest rates was to raise the cost of being a bank. So when clients who had deposits at SVB moved their money to other banks because they did a bank run, I showed you that in my video, SVB had to liquidate loans that were less valuable, and that created a big gap. $1.8 billion was on the balance sheet. So it says because of that loss, SVB suddenly said that it needed to raise $2.25 billion of additional capital by issuing new common and convertible preferred shares. This decision is what caused the bank runs. About $42 billion of deposits were withdrawn by the end of March 9th. And that's according to a regulatory filing. By the close of business that day, SVB had a negative cash balance of $958 million. And that's according to their filing. So Signature Bank, New York, was closed because of its exposure to cryptocurrency industry, on which the bank also relied heavily. So this kind of messed some things up, but regulators unveiled an emergency plan on March 12th, the flagship measure of which is to guarantee deposits from all SVB and Signature Bank New York customers to avoid contagion, because it was spreading. People were panicking. But this plan has not so far managed to dispel fears that other regional banks will fall. And I'm telling you, they're going to fall. And now we got this whole situation going on where they're reopening accounts. What the what? Make it make sense. If this video was helpful, and I hope that it was, please give your girl a thumbs up. Share this out with your family and your friends. They need to know what these banks are doing, and let them know to keep an eye on their accounts. Any account that you've closed with the bank, just go back randomly and see, have they reopened that account.
You drive. Do you know I'm looking, and I can't help but smile? Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever. 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 I watch you as you sleep. You don't know I'm looking. With you everything's complete. Do you know how much I love you? I put your favorite song on.